You know that sinking feeling when you realize the whole plan you spent days cooking up has just completely exploded in your face? Yeah, that was me last summer, standing there in my backyard, trying to piece together exactly how my own prank ended up pranking me instead. It's almost funny now, but at the time, I was seriously questioning every life choice that led me to that moment. So there I was, thinking I was the mastermind, the king of harmless neighborhood mischief. But as the dust settled, and by dust I mean the very literal cloud of chaos from what should have been my perfect prank, I couldn't help but ask myself, how do you even recover when your own scheme turns around and smacks you in the face? And not just smacks you, mind you, but does it with a grin like it's been waiting for this exact moment all along. You know, like a cat knocking over your stuff just because it can. Except in this case, the cat was my best friend Jamie, who somehow managed to outprank me without me even realizing it until it was way too late. But let me back up a bit, because none of this makes sense without the full picture. Picture a small, quiet suburban neighborhood baking under the summer sun, with lawns that look like they haven't seen a drop of water and sidewalks that zoom past your bike tiredly. That was our playground, and apparently the perfect stage for what was supposed to be my grand prank against the one person who made summer a little less fun. Henderson. Oh, Mr. Henderson. Now there's a man whose favorite words were no noise and keep it down, and who somehow thought a little backyard fun needed a government permit. The guy had rules so strict they could give the library a run for its money. No yelling, no loud music, no laughter past 8 p.m., which, in the middle of summer break, felt like a personal attack. And that's why Jamie and I, both absolute aficionados of chaos and cleverness, decided it was time for a little gentle payback. We wanted to loosen Mr. Henderson's grip on the neighborhood's fun quota just a bit. I'm not talking about anything mean, just a prank that would remind him how much fun summer is supposed to be without turning the whole block upside down. Of course, we were careful. Too careful, maybe. We planned every detail, timed it to the minute, and rehearsed like we were about to pull off a secret mission. The problem was, even with all our scheming, I had this odd feeling creeping in. Like maybe, just maybe, Jamie had his own ace up his sleeve that he wasn't telling me about. But hey, who could have guessed that I was about to learn the hard way that when it comes to pranks, trusting your partner without a healthy dose of suspicion might not be the best idea. So yeah, there I was, arms crossed, trying to hide the fact that my perfectly crafted plan had just flipped the script entirely, and me? Well, I was left wondering if I'd ever see my prank coming again, or if I'd just become the punchline forever. Jamie and I sat sprawled on the cracked pavement of my driveway, blueprints of chaos sprawled out in front of us like we were planning a covert operation rather than a summer prank. He was grinning like a kid who just found out ice cream wasn't just a myth, and honestly, I was right there with him. Mr. Henderson's no-noise crusade had gone on for long enough. It was like living next to a ticking time bomb of quietness, and every time he gave us the look, which was basically a glare strong enough to kill houseplants, it felt like a personal challenge. So, we're agreed, I said, trying to sound serious but feeling the excitement bubbling under my ribs. Operation Summer Shenanigans is a go. The sprinkler prank with the inflatable pool and… Wait, do you think Mr. Henderson will even step out to see it, or just yell from the porch? Jamie chuckled, tapping a finger on the diagram of our supposed sprinkler ambush. Oh, he's going to come out all right. There's no way he can ignore a surprise deluge right on his lawn. Plus, I rigged the hose to the timer so it'll start right after dusk. That way, nobody can say I'm being noisy during the day. I nodded approvingly, feeling a surge of pride for how meticulous we'd become. The nuances of timing, the placement of the inflatable kiddie pool on his driveway, no detail was too small. We even mapped out our escape route back to my backyard, where we could watch the chaos unfold safely and with a bowl of popcorn, the true snack of champions. All right, but here's the million-dollar question, I said, lowering my voice like we were about to tackle the biggest secret in history. How do we make sure Mr. Henderson doesn't suspect that either of us had a hand in this? He's sharp, like a hawk with laser eyes. Jamie's grin turned mischievous. Simple. We leave no fingerprints. Literally. Gloves, masks, the works. Plus, I borrowed my little sister's rubber duck collection for a distraction. I blinked, waiting for the punchline, but he just nodded seriously. Trust me, you'll see, it's all about the decoys. Despite the layers of planning, there was this nagging sense, a tiny flicker of doubt that maybe Jamie was keeping even more secrets. He'd been acting a little too confident lately. Yesterday, he'd mysteriously disappeared just when things were heating up, claiming he had to check on his pet hamster's dental health. Honestly, it smelled fishier than Mr. Henderson's old barbecue grill. So, you're not hiding anything from me, right? I asked, peering at him over my unshaved chin. Jamie pretended to be offended, clutching his chest like I'd just accused him of disloyalty. Me? Hide from you? Never. I'm an open book. A book with a few thrilling chapters, sure, but still an open book. I laughed, but the doubt was there, stubborn as ever. What if this prank wasn't as straightforward as we thought? What if Jamie was playing a double game? That thought gnawed at me, but I shook it off. We were supposed to be partners in crime. Partners, not double agents. The afternoon sun was dipping low, lighting up the neighborhood with that sleepy golden glow that promises both mischief and trouble. With our gear packed, water balloons, timers, the inflatable pool with enough air to launch it like a small blimp, we made our way to Mr. Henderson's property. The air smelled like freshly cut grass and distant barbecue smoke. Pretty normal for summer, but both of us were buzzing with adrenaline like we'd just snuck into Area 51. We moved like secret agents, crouching behind bushes and creeping along sidewalks, making sure every step was calculated and silent. I felt like a spy nervously awaiting the signal, heart thumping in time with the rhythmic drip of the sprinkler system Jamie had rigged. We were so careful, it almost felt like the prank was more for our own amusement than anything else. Yet beneath that carefulness was an electric undercurrent. I could sense something was about to go sideways, though I couldn't tell whether it'd be Mr. Henderson's wrath or Jamie's hidden trump card. It all seemed to come together perfectly at first. The timer clicked. Water hissed through the hoses, flooding the inflatable pool that sat innocently in the middle of the driveway. Then Mr. Henderson appeared, shuffling like a cantankerous wizard summoned by the sound of chaos. His face twisted from confusion to fury in a matter of seconds, and we barely had time to stifle our laughter. Except then, things started to feel off. He wasn't just mad, he was oddly calm. Too calm. Like he'd been expecting us. And when he looked straight at us, standing not 15 feet away, he smirked. A smirk so out of character that it made my skin crawl. Jamie nudged me, whispering, "Watch the fireworks." That's when I realized maybe I was the one who had been blindsided all along. The sprinkler's hiss was barely a whisper now, but that smirk on Mr. Henderson's face? That wasn't just calm, it was downright smug. And it hit me like a surprise splash of cold water. This wasn't just about soaking his lawn. This was something else entirely. Jamie nudged me again, a sly look in his eye as if he was about to say something brilliant or terribly genius. But before he could open his mouth, Mr. Henderson stepped forward, tapping the hose with the tip of his cane and said, "Caught you two red-handed." I froze. Wait, what? Caught? How? My brain scrambled, trying to rewind through every carefully planned step, every glove and mask and rubber duck diversion. Had we overlooked something? Then he pointed, behind us, where a garden sprinkler, which hadn't been touched at all by us, was spraying a steady arc of water onto the sidewalk. Right next to it was a trail of footsteps, barefoot footprints, not ours. Jamie's confident grin faltered for a split second before he shrugged like it was his proudest moment. Well, he's got a point about the messy footprints. I shot him a look that said, "You didn't know about this, did you?" He just winked and said, "Relax, I've got it all under control." Under control? That felt about as believable as Mr. Henderson suddenly deciding to join a punk rock band. And when I glanced back at Mr. Payas, Henderson, he was humming a little tune, totally unfazed by the water flooding his driveway, like he was enjoying the show. Then it happened, the real twist. Jamie leaned in toward me, whispering, "You didn't notice the cameras, right?" Oh man, the look on your face is priceless. Cameras? What cameras? I scanned the windows of Mr. Henderson's porch and spotted tiny round lenses peeking out from behind the curtain edges. Security cameras, all perfectly angled toward the driveway, probably streaming live footage straight to his phone. That's when it dawned on me. Every sly smile, every calm step, Mr. Henderson knew. He'd set us up the moment we started planning. Wait, this whole time you knew? I whispered, wide-eyed, turning back to Jamie, hoping for some sort of answer. But Jamie's expression had changed. There was that mischievous glint, but now I wasn't sure if it was at me or with me. Not exactly," he began, scratching the back of his neck in that oops way that usually meant I'd been totally duped. "See, you remember that disappearing act yesterday?" "Yeah, I went over to Mr. Henderson's place first. We, talked, sort of made a deal." I stared. "You made a deal with him? Without telling me?" Jamie nodded sheepishly. "Okay, I might have arranged a little side operation. I'll explain everything, promise. But trust me, it was to keep the prank from completely exploding in our faces." I felt the blood drain out of me. Not because I was mad, but because everything we'd planned, all that careful plotting, felt like a house of cards built on shifting sand. "So you're telling me the prank wasn't just rigged by Mr. Henderson, but you were in on it too?" Jamie grinned, a little too widely for comfort, and said, "Let's just say it turned into a double prank, on both of us." I winked. My best friend, my partner in crime, playing a game I wasn't even invited to? The layers were stacking up like a crazy lasagna of secrets, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I was impressed or betrayed. To Mr. Four to them, idea later. Henderson cleared his throat then, breaking into the weirdest version of a chuckle I'd ever heard from the man. Thought I'd return the favor with a little lesson on neighborhood harmony. My mind reeled. Neighborhood harmony? With what? A sprinkler ambush turned into a black belt lesson in surveillance and secret deals? Jamie nudged me once more and whispered, "Ready to see how the rest of this mess plays out?" I wasn't sure I was ready for anything anymore. But before I could answer, the inflatable pool, half filled and utterly deflated now under the unexpected water pressure, gave one last pathetic squish. And in that moment I realized the only thing I could count on was that this prank war was far from over, and somehow I was already one step behind. The neighborhood was buzzing with a weird blend of astonishment and amusement as Mr. Ask, Henderson, Jamie, and I stood there, the soaked remnants of our grand prank at our feet. But somehow, the mood wasn't what I expected. Mr. Henderson wasn't turning me into his sworn enemy. Instead, he gave us a look that was less, "You're grounded for life," and more like, "Nice try, kids, but you're gonna have to do better than that." "Look," he said, shaking his head with a reluctant smile, "I get it. You want to have fun, and yeah, I'm probably the killjoy around here. My rules might be a little tight, but it's because this neighborhood means a lot to me." He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if letting me in on a secret. "But if you're going to prank me, you should at least come clean and play fair. That means no backdoor deals, and certainly no stealth security cameras spying on your best friend." I blinked. "You saw the cameras?" "Oh, I saw more than that," Mr. Henderson replied, looking at Jamie and then at me. "I've been expecting you two for weeks, honestly," he chuckled. "And Jamie? Nice collaboration. You almost had me." Jamie shrugged, trying to look nonchalant but probably feeling the same mix of guilt and pride I was drowning in. Then he turned to me and grinned. "Guess I was playing the long game. Sorry for dragging you into the secret alliance, man." For a minute, I just stared at the two of them, feeling like my brain was trying to catch up with a ridiculously complicated plot twist. But then, as the sun dipped lower and turned the sky that soft July orange, something shifted. The tension dropped, replaced by this sort of mutual smirk that said we were all in the same absurd boat. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat again and said, "Here's what I propose. You two get to cool your jets, no more surprise sprinkler attacks for a while, and in exchange, I'll loosen up a bit on the noise restrictions." Jamie and I exchanged a look that screamed, "Is this really happening?" But we nodded fast enough to make our heads spin. "So, Mr. Henderson continued, you get to enjoy your summer shenanigans, and I get some peace of mind knowing you've actually learned a bit about respect, and maybe a little about how to pull a prank without ending up drenched yourself." Laughing, we agreed. It was a truce, sure, but it felt more like a win for all of us. As we packed up the gear-deflated pool, soggy gloves, and the humiliating trail of footprints, I thought back to how I'd been so blinded by my own scheme that I never saw the real game going on. Being outsmarted by your best friend and your grouchy neighbor is humbling, but also kind of refreshing. It reminded me that sometimes the best victories come from knowing when to fold the hand and laugh at yourself instead. Jamie threw an arm over my shoulder as we walked back to my place, the night wrapping around us like a cool blanket. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, "mostly surprised you made a secret deal without me. But hey, looks like I've got some pranking homework now." Jamie laughed. "Just wait till next summer, then we'll really see who's king of the neighborhood." I smiled, already dreading and looking forward to it all at once. "So, what about you? Ever had a plan backfire so spectacularly that you ended up laughing more than you got mad? What's the craziest prank twist you've ever been part of? Because if there's one thing summer taught me that day, it's that in the world of pranks, no one's ever really safe or predictable. And honestly, that's what makes it all fun.